You have an example in the background for you, for everyone. Beautiful. Let me know if anyone can see my screen. And before we start, please unmute your mic and just be happy and enjoy this beautiful evening at your home or outside. Beautiful. My screen.
Yep, there's a share screen.
I listen, yes, everyone can see my screen. If you unmute yourself, then we will start in a second. All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone, this is ACC's virtual event. Hello everyone, if your first time coming to the ACC event, welcome. If your second time or third time, fourth time, we are so happy to have you. So let's take a look at today's agenda. The first 10 minutes, we'll have the ACC intro. Then we will have Ian talk about how he and pineapple. Yeah, why pineapple? Lastly, you have 20 minutes for Q&A, so everyone can use the chat room, and we will talk about we can answer your question. And these are all the events we have done in the past, which is offline. We miss you guys. Oh wow, there's a Adobe. Let me close it. 1 second. Oh. All right, Susanna's gonna help. All right, that's fine. Whatever. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming. So why ACC? This is our mission. We want to engage, excite, and elevate. What does that mean, engage? We want to immerse our talents and celebrate their success. We want to excite you, surprise you, and delight you. Lastly, elevate our community to have a meaningful connection between you and me and the speakers and all the audience. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And the ACC community over the past 17 months, we founded last January. We already have over 700 attendees. That's incredible. And more than 1,800 people are interested to join our monthly event so far. So we invited speakers to share about their creative journey, their challenge, their frustration, and how they become themselves. And the audience can ask questions, engage, and even connect after the event. So everyone get ready, it's really exciting. So over the past 17 months, we host 13 offline events. We host the event in 8 venues. We have 50 speakers across different industries. As you can see, they are photography, illustration, architecture, community leadership, AI science, marketing, beauty, product design, even food talks. Everyone loves food. So we want to incorporate different creative. It's really amazing to have you to be part of our journey. However, because of the pandemic, we never expect that. We started to do online event. And in the past, this month, actually, we started to do online event. We have 5 online events. We have 2 is Instagram Live, and we have 3 talks. So we have a ceramic workshop to look at the studio. We have a sketch time with our beautiful illustrator. And last 3 talk, we invited the business owner talk about how do we do design and creative entrepreneurship. And before we start, I want to invite Sally to talk about her really special project. We want to support the community. So Sally, please, you can unmute yourself and talk about the campaign you have done.
Hello, Shandi and everybody. Thanks so much for giving me this opportunity to share about our Mass for Unity campaign. So we are an augmented reality social media campaign that fights against racism and promote people to wear protection masks during COVID-19. So as you guys know, ever since COVID-19 started, there has been a sharp rise in anti-Asian sentiment in the US. And I teach every Fridays at School of Visual Arts, and when 4 of my students got attacked physically and verbally, we realized that we had to do something about them. So quickly, SVA students and some designers from our company too, and across the industry, we got together and we created these AR masks on Instagram. And our campaign is to spread the mission of flatten the hate and mask for unity and like be united regardless of the race during this pandemic. So if you go to the next slide, yeah, so our main promotion channel is on Instagram. So check out our website and our Instagram to try out our AR filters. And if you guys can support us, I would really appreciate it. Thank you, Shandy, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, this is amazing. So if anyone want to help or volunteer and they are looking for people who are also creative like you to join the community. Awesome. Thank you, Sally. So today we are talking about how I become not I, but he became Pineapple. So I'm the host, I'm Shandy, I'm the co-founder of Asian Creative Collective. And we are so excited to have Ian. He's the experience design lead at BCG Digital Venture. So Ian and I, we actually met at work. He's really cool, always wear really cool sportswear and a hat and a really cool sneaker. He's not only a designer, he has an architecture background and he's from LA. And he's also DJ at night. So I think it's really interesting to share his experience and his journey about how he became himself. So Ian, please feel free to take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Shandy. Hey, everyone, Asian Creative Collective. Really excited to just share my story. We'll kick off. Shandy, would you be able to let me share screen by any chance?
I think I just started. I stopped sharing.
I will.
Oh, it says it's disabled.
Oh,
Yep, coming.
All right, always technical support. We need that. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, my name is Ian Abinoja. I'm an experienced design lead at BCG Digital Ventures. Originally from Los Angeles, moved to New York just about 3 months ago, so perfect timing to be here. Really excited. Just recently spent a year in Australia working at our Sydney office. So I've been traveling a lot, and so it does feel good to kind of reach out to this awesome creative community and to finally get settled in.
Beautiful. I think you can share now. Let me know.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we can see it.
So how I became a pineapple. What you'll start to see is that there's a lot of things happening here. So let's get going, shall we? It starts off with making sure that I prepare you guys for the narrative that I'm about to embark on, because my life is quite complicated. So you will hear random stories. You'll definitely take away some humble learnings. And for sure, I may talk about things that might veer off course. And that naturally happens because I personally, and as you see, as I show you the path to becoming the pineapple, that, sometimes it's okay to make mistakes. Sometimes it's okay to go around and to go off to tangents because you'll go into uncharted territories. And I love this quote. This quote basically talks about it's better to have crashed a Ferrari than to have never driven one at all. And this is something that just resonated with me just because this is something that I do believe can really empower people to just try. And basically every single step of the way, starting from my humble beginnings. So knowing that every story starts with its origin story. I put Wolverine just because he has been my favorite character since child. But you know what? So what about the origin story? Why does that even matter? But yeah, so thinking about the origin story, right? So I actually had to go back and catalog kind of what even inspired me to get even into design. And so I remember very clearly constantly playing with just various toys, right? Lego was definitely one of the most defining themes in my life. And it's basically one of the ones that I will kind of iterate over and over in my journey and kind of talk about how even as a child, when I was playing with Lego, the idea of just problem solving, creating, imagination, and all these different things really resonated with me. And as I started to grow older and more responsibilities started to pile on, you start to really think about what my passion was. And so, real quick, all of a sudden I started to think about, all right, humble lesson number one. When was the last time I played like I was 5? And I think about this frequently because oftentimes when we start to go into our creative professions, it's all about kind of like the business and the outcomes and the deliverables. And sometimes we forget about the process, or sometimes we forget about the fact that, why not challenge ourselves like we did when we were 5, when we didn't really think about always having to get things correct. I remember like with Lego, just always kind of piecing things together and kind of creating something out of nothing. And that's kind of what I wanted to kind of share today, is that with this first lesson, I kind of really kind of looked at myself and said, okay, cool. So if I start to play, why is it that when I grow older, when you play, it starts to go into this pass and fail dynamic, right? You're afraid to play because you don't want to fail, or you are really enamored by wanting to play because you know you'll pass. But this idea of a pass and fail is something that really kind of resonated in my path to becoming Pineapple. And so let's start. So how did I do along my journey through life? So we start with high school, went to an all-boys Catholic high school. So the past there is I got to socialize, right? Like I was hanging out with friends. I was in high school, got my license, driving around LA, going to taco stands, kicking it with all of my, neighborhood kind of colleagues and things like that. But the fail here was I actually didn't take school too seriously, right? And too seriously in the sense that if you think about just the world standards of what success is in high school, I did not meet that, right? And it was one of those kind of dilemmas where that's the pressure that I had put on myself. And I said, fuck, I failed because I didn't really go to the typical colleges that everyone else went to. And in that moment, I remember having a conversation with my mom, and I told her, like, I still want to pursue architecture at the time. And the leading reason for that was Legos. And so with Legos in mind, I was like, okay, so I can't really get into any good schools. How can I still kind of pursue architecture? And so at the time in LA, there were 2 schools that were doing it relatively well. And so Pasadena City College was kind of the first one, right? You didn't require any kind of barrier to get in. You could take any of the classes. And so, when I looked into the program for architecture, I was like, wow, like it's really good. And so basically their first level of architecture competes with a lot in Southern California of like first level kind of learnings around architecture. And so that's where all of a sudden my language and the conversations that I would have with people started to kind of mold and shift and evolve to encompass environments, experiences, etc. I started to take myself outside of just my normal life and go into this world of designing experiences. Now, the problem with Pasadena City College is that you use it as a transfer state because you want to get to the better colleges. The issue with that is I actually was not mature enough to actually take it seriously again. And the reason why was because I think for the longest time growing up, I longed to socialize. I longed to just be around people. And so when it comes to classes, and some of these classes aren't very kind of expressive, I don't necessarily have the best time doing well. And so this dilemma started to happen again. I was learning architecture, I was doing well in architecture, but I was failing in like psychology and things like that. And when it came time to transfer, I couldn't again because you had to have a really good portfolio, but then you also had to have a really good kind of like general ed kind of education and grade. And so when that happened, I kind of hit like a point with like my parents, and they almost told me to say like, hey, why don't you just do airplane mechanic school? Just because like that's how you can make money. And I was like, oh my God. So I actually went to just check it out and found out that that wasn't for me. And again, had a really hard conversation with my parents and basically said, you know what, at the end of the day, like I want to design, I want to be creative. And at the time, graphic design was just something that was in my mind. And that's when I started to transition. And I started to transition and went to El Camino College because, again, in order to get good education, you have to transfer to one of those things. You can't just like get in. So the path for me to get there was going to El Camino College to work on my portfolio. And the serendipity about this whole kind of journey is the fact that I was able to meet a design community that I loved. And so what happened is that social aspect that was missing from me from the prior two landed itself in this third iteration of my life. Now, mind you, at this point, I was probably like 21, 22. So I could have graduated from other colleges already. And, I think that's what was harsh is that, again, I still failed all these other generic classes because I only cared about design. I couldn't really see myself transferring to, these 4-year, like really heavy collegiate schools. It just wasn't like a way for me to get in because of the intense barrier that you need to round yourself in all these other classes. So what happened was I was introduced to a professor who had basically taught at Art Center. And they were basically talking about how Art Center favors portfolios more, and then your other grades, they'll kind of look at it, right? And all of a sudden, that became my key to get in, is to work on my portfolio, to work on my craft, to be with this community of people that I've met at El Camino to transfer over. And so pass, awesome, cool, life-changing experience, Art Center. I basically, went to Berlin abroad. I studied graphic design and did internships. I did all that you could think of at design school. And the beauty about this is it's what taught me craft, right? Again, you think about the social aspect of what I was missing at high school and at PCC, which I had a taste for in El Camino, which basically just skyrocketed at Art Center just to see like-minded people in one school. Now, the failure here was I just didn't sleep and it cost a lot of money. So that hurt a lot. And I would say that there are other failures as well, right? Like I remember for Art Center, we had, our student gallery walls, and everyone's goal at the end of term was get on the wall, get on the wall. And so, sometimes I felt like if I didn't get on that wall, I had failed. I wasn't good enough in my class. Now, how do you think I did, right? Now, do you say I failed in life? Did I pass in life? Where do you think I land? And so just to kind of jump a little bit forward is through Art Center is actually how I found my job at BCG Digital Ventures, through the many type of connections that I had made. And so if you think about it, humble lesson number 2, what's up? All my failures actually pushed me to become a better designer. And if I had just kind of passed in that first iteration, so if I kind of think about my life as if I passed at high school, or if I had passed at PCC, or if I had passed at El Camino, would I have gotten to where I am today? And that's the problem. You'll never know. But that's the key, is to allow yourself to be in that play state. And so, if I think about pass versus fail, yeah, cool. Pass, awesome. I hit the mountain, cool. Awesome, I have that beautiful view. But guess what? They're interrelated. You need that failure. You need that failure finding how to get there. And I think that's what I had realized is you could see all of my friends taking the path to the right, but I assumed that I could do better. Now, yes, this is an unpleasant view. I apologize to everyone. But these go hand in hand. You cannot achieve the left if you had not failed on the right. And it's that mentality that I keep with me of this idea that, oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Pass versus fail is not binary. It's not one-on-one. And it's not just one or the other. And so if I go back and I think about my high school days, going to an all-boys Catholic high school, we had these retreats called Kairos. And there is a certain situation during that 4-day experience where you go on this retreat where people break down, they cry, they pour their hearts out. It all of a sudden becomes a space for us to be vulnerable in a way that people might say is like, hey, being vulnerable is like a failing kind of a thing. It's not always good. And in that moment, that's where we bonded the most. So the success and the path of our brotherhood of being man for others, and basically the mantra of that high school, was based on the idea that we had to challenge ourselves to become vulnerable. And live the fourth is just a term that kind of is stuck within this brotherhood. But if you think about the areas below where, I got to socialize, but I didn't take school seriously, the highlight to this is that it's both. That, you have to kind of allow yourself to be playful. And so going back to Pasadena, when I started learning architecture, I really hated my professor, but I still credit him today when he talks about this concept of binuclear. And binuclear, he talks about the existence of two opposite entities in one space. Very kind of like yin and yang, very kind of positive, negative. I always talk about it as, protons and electrons, etc. But the beauty about this is that how do you identify good if there is no evil, right? So this idea is like, how do you even know past exists if there is no failure? And so that started to resonate with me as a concept as I started to grow as a designer. And then taking that to El Camino, where all of a sudden I captured all of this language of kind of assessing my failures and understanding how to think about an existence where both can cohabitate. And Vision 218 was a club that I was able to run with a couple of my friends. Again, like I said, this is where I met my community. And prior to this, I was very quiet, very introverted. I was not a person that was kind of bred to lead anything. And so Vision 218 basically taught me to risk the idea that my decisions can be wrong, or to risk that my decisions can impact others negatively. And this idea that we have imposter syndrome and all those different things is always going to be there. But again, if you straddle this idea that pass and fail work with one another, can really push you in a collaborative space. And then finally, just to think about Art Center, one of my late professors, he basically talked about it as, look, you could do amazing design, but all I care about is if your design has soul. And he pointed, I remember in class, he pointed to me and he's like, look, Ian's got soul. I was like, what? That's cool. I don't have to pray or anything. That's awesome. No, but he basically said look at his pants. I was like, what? My pants? And I just had at the time, just a piece of masking tape just taped onto the right side of my leg. And I just did it for no reason, but he was like, look, that's different. There's a shift to it. If you put Ian's pants around everyone else's, it's normal pants, and then you see Ian's, which has something a little bit different. Because that soul is what makes us unique. And I think that's the thing about this idea versus pass and fail, is the more you do it, the more you find the soul in things. You find kind of the uniqueness about myself or even the designs that I create. And so all of a sudden I started thinking to myself, oh, cool, humble lesson 1. Got to stay in this play state. Because when I play, you can allow yourself to be in a space where you can fail, where you can allow yourself to be in a space where those failures then turn into learnings for you to pass. Whoa, I was like, holy crap, being in a state of play provides a space to pass and fail together. Yo, this is fire status. This is awesome. And so that's basically what I wanted to take you guys through, is this first kind of 2 learnings are something that has always stuck with me today. And now to go from that origin story to my work life story. So I know that Shandy had mentioned I worked at BCG Digital Ventures, Sally, who you just heard as well, some amazing people. And I will definitely credit that company and this organization that we work for giving me the opportunity to work with Lego. What? That's crazy. I was 5 years old. How the hell did I get here? And so again, I think about it, you think about if I had succeeded Loyola, would I have ever gone to do a project with Lego? If I had ever gone to PCC, would I have ever done that with Lego? And so all these things started to resonate. Now, when this project approached us, it was around the first or second year of Digital Ventures' existence. So I was an associate designer at the time, and we didn't have a fully stacked kind of design team. So what happened here was they were like, oh, meet Ian, he's our creative director. I'm like, what? I'm an associate designer, what the hell? So all of a sudden I'm thinking these questions wait a minute, how do I add value if I'm just an associate experience designer, right? Or, whoa, I don't want to fail this company that has inspired me for years, so what do I do? And that's when I thought to myself, okay, the beauty about being in the design space is that we're naturally wanting to create problem solving through creative means. And so when we were first doing our research, right? And I'll echo this a little bit more. For some reason, working at Digital Ventures for me has had karma slap me in the face a couple of times. And maybe it's not Digital Ventures, maybe it's just life in general. But basically, we decided to play. So to do research, we went to Legoland in Carlsbad, California, strapped some GoPros, and walked around the theme park. Now, risky, you have two grown men walking in the theme park with a ton of kids. So that was definitely the nervous area, but it allowed us to really kind of break out of our comfort zones, right? We're not exploring through desk research. We're going to Target to look at how people are buying toys. We're going to the theme parks to see how people are digesting that content, as well as destroying a BCG room. Now, for those who don't know BCG, they are a very strict management consulting firm. So to even have a post-it on the window is taboo. And so the fun part about this is we went in and we're just like, you know what, we're just gonna do our thing and keep going. And one of the consultants went into the room. He's like, can I take a picture? This is cool. And I was like, what? Sure. But what that is just telling us is that, you know, your experiments can actually impact outside of your project, right? People are now seeing other ways to connect. And mind you, this was about 5 years ago. So, you know, the culture is obviously changed. Things and events like these are a little bit more ubiquitous and just in terms of design process. And so what I wanted to echo again is that if I had not been in that play state, if I had not allowed myself to want to fail, want to pass, and things like that, I'm not sure I could have done as well as I did when on this project for Lego. And so one of the things I wanted to highlight here is pass. I got to go to Denmark, to the Lego headquarters, to see the original block that was created by the founder of Lego, which basically means the best is good enough. And then the photo on the bottom was a trip that I got to take to London, which basically said the same thing. Now the play state was cool. We're creating content. Let's play. This is awesome. But it's always going to be mixed in with failures. You're working 10, 12-hour days, right? So you might as well, you know, have a little bit of fun with it, right? And I say fail not in the sense that, you know, we're doing anything wrong, but you think about this idea of like, why am I working at 11:49 p.m.? You start to think about life at that time and you you forget about anything else. And basically what I wanted to show is that, you know, with the idea of the first two lessons, that the impact that happened with Lego was awesome, right? We designed a site that accommodated 16 different languages. And basically that site was able to, and granted, our benchmark was a little bit low because the site was like the last time it was built was like in the early 2000s. So we naturally were able to kind of have a strong increase in the conversion. The issues that we had to face were clocking in 1,500 hours, right? Working across 4 different time zones. I was up at 6 a.m. every morning because Germany was about to end their workday. And then basically knowing that, you know, we're enabling future kind of inspiration for corporate partners. And so real quick, I just want to play a sizzle reel, and they have actually redesigned their site again since then. But again, I don't take that as a failure because they could not have done that if we hadn't gone through, again, these 1,500 hours of working with them together. And so I want to share kind of really quick, just kind of a little sizzle video. Sweet. So yeah, that was Lego. Again, just thinking about 5 years ago, we were doing Photoshop comps for these. There was no Figma, there was no Sketch. So understand that even as like environments change, your kind of contribution to kind of the design environment, or just kind of thinking about creative problem solving, is always going to be your true North Star. The tools that you have with you will change constantly. So always keep true to kind of your design voice as you kind of go through this. Um, I forgot. Yeah. So basically, cool. Lesson number 3. So how do I bring play into the professional setting? So that's basically what I learned. I was like, okay, cool. So I've now started my professional career. I've been at Digital Ventures for about 2 years at this point. And so, how do I keep that alive? Oh, yeah. Yes. And I will get to how I became a pineapple. So don't worry, we will get there. So the next stage of my life, going from my work life to my play life, right? So, I started seeing like how play can start to integrate into my work life. So let's start to analyze what my play life was like. So back in 2015, again, new professional, right? Like I think I'm the shit. I'm ready to go. I'm like partying with all my friends. Know that when you're in play state, you are constantly going to be in a state of failure. Now, this is an awesome video that my friend shot of us just randomly walking around to some desert around Joshua Tree, between Joshua Tree and Las Vegas. The reason why we're here is because my car broke down. my beautiful new car that I had bought that I wanted to show everyone got a flat tire in between Joshua to Las Vegas. So, my friends and I were kind of stuck. But we would never have seen this train. We would have never had a unique experience together. And, side note, my favorite number is 2, and I found that by the train tracks. And it was one of those kind of areas of just kind of thinking to myself, holy crap, allowing yourself to kind of play will kind of push you to areas sometimes that you just don't realize that you're going to be in. It also kind of contributed to a couple of colleagues. So remember I told you that I'm definitely someone that's attracted to this kind of social connection, this collaboration. And so a group of friends of mine back in 2015 tried to start something called Last Night. The reason why we called it Last Night was because we would always wake up the next morning and be like, what happened last night? And that's why you see question marks on our shirts over on the right side. Last night? Last night? Now, the learning here is that in this idea of play state, it's sometimes hard to start businesses with your best friends. All of a sudden, it's not play anymore. But that, I will say, is this. It allowed me to then explore other avenues with the same people that inspired me. So even though Last Night does not exist today, it was definitely there to inspire me. So the Sound of Tomorrow comes from this awesome group called Selection. Selection, basically, around 2015 was when I was exposed to more of this music DJ culture. And at the time, I called myself Ian, right? Spelling it phonetically because I thought I was cool. And then basically DJing my first event, which was a friend's sister's clothing label sale store thing on top of her roof. Basically, her brand's called Naked Undies, and so you'll see a little bit later what I'm referring to. But that was my first gig, right? And it was one of those things where I wasn't actually playing for anyone. I was creating like background music. But that was like my first taste, right? So this idea of play really just allowed me to like pursue just things I was interested in, passions, if you will. And so you could see me as I'm like playing with things, right? In my mom's garage, by the way, because at the time I was still kind of like saving money because Art Center has a lot of student loans attached to it. But I'm playing around, I'm experimenting, I'm listening to music from SoundCloud, I'm doing different things. And with this, I also was able to just play for friends, right? I was able to kind of be cheered on by the people who support you the most. Because it's with this group that you'll find that passing and failing becomes a lot easier to basically kind of hold when you have your number ones with you. They will always be very kind of patient with you as you go through various failures. I remember I did a live stream on my birthday actually. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. And I did a live stream and I left the background video from like some other kind of video playing. And so it was competing with what my DJ sets was. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? But you know what? I took that as, look, all my friends are cool. They all supported me. They're the ones that told me that it was playing, which was really great. And so to really think about these environments that you could live in to allow yourself to pass and to fail and to play. And so my first mix came out, right? Naked Undies, so that's where it came. Uh, Ironically, this is probably my worst mix ever. And yet it still has 4,000 plays. And so I was like, why are you doing so well? You suck. And that's just telling me that, you know, the world can be random sometimes. And so you need to respond and to listen to the environment around you. Some of the streams or some of the kind of mixes that I've made in the past, I think that are amazing, sometimes don't get the biggest hits. And so that's kind of like the area that I want to show, is that serendipity does play its role in kind of this growth into your, you know, professional career, into your passion career, whatever it is that you want to get into. So a fun side note is Times Square. Yo, what's up? What's happening? Well, check it out. Do you know where I'm at? There. I was actually featured with a friend of mine. This was before, I think, you know, live stream was like a big thing, but we would just live stream on Facebook and we would just DJ, and then all our friends would just kind of show up. And basically what would happen is you would see my friend DJing and there's a little panda in the background, and that was me. Again, allowing yourself to be in that play state. We would have never been featured during New Year's Eve in Times Square for Facebook Live. And I think that kind of comes to show is that you just never know sometimes what you're going to get. So to allow yourself to play and have fun and be passionate. And when the serendipitous kind of opportunities come to play, say yes, try it out. And, you know, thinking about the fact that, oh, cool, we have our fourth lesson. How do I stay passionate then, right? How can I, you know, do it if my professional career is kind of sucking all of my creativity out of me? So that's where I was saying, okay, cool. So how do I bring play to my professional setting, right? You basically allow yourself to explore. So I think about it as, you know, during Lego, when we were exploring, we had to basically put ourselves in uncomfortable positions just to understand what was wrong so that we knew what was right to provide our client, to provide Lego the right designs. And then how do you stay passionate then in like this idea of the play life, this idea of like, oh, like my career, like can they exist? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, they can exist. Because what you do in play life always resonates in work life, right? And so this is myself and another coworker of mine just kind of dancing in Joshua Tree. But dance is a movement that just crosses any type of environment. So that's just me dancing at work because, again, I was up till like midnight working. So sometimes a little bit delirious at that point. But again, that playful state of mind, right? So you think about back then, I was talking about like my 5-year-old self, thinking about passing and failing, thinking about, can I keep this passion in both environments of my life? And so, yes, I found out that it's a vibe thing. And so vibe is definitely something that I tend to use a lot in my terminology. But basically thinking about, look, if you bring play into work and your passion will always find a way to find you, right? And vice versa. You know, you could bring work into play and find that passion starts to organize itself. So you'll find that, like, you know, in the middle of the night, I basically just put some paper airplanes in the office because I wanted to stimulate kind of the environment. No one told me to, and I did it. And then it like basically stayed there for a year. No one took it down. And then this other part was, you know, this section here was when DV first started, we were looking at how to kind of engage content, how to kind of create more content for our community. And at the time, I was about to embark on a project in Berlin. And so what they were basically saying is like, Ian, just vlog. I'm like, I've never vlogged before. I don't want to be in front of the camera. What the hell? Like, I don't know if I could do this. But again, if you think back to what I was telling you, that these worlds can coexist, that you can pass and fail and play and do all these things with your passion. You can find outlets that kind of improve like where you are in life. And so I'll play a quick snippet of this vlog. I'm not proud of everything, but it should be fun to watch. So let's just maybe watch 2 minutes of this.
What's up, guys? It's Ian Abinoja's What's Up, and we're here with episode 3. And I was looking at episode 2, and I thought this would be a really cool topic because we just came off that idea of tech open air, which is really cool in the startup scene. And so when you really think about all of the budding creatives that are in that atmosphere, in their mature state, I was able to go to one of the art and design schools here in Berlin, Universität der Kunst. Not good at my German yet. But there's this event called Rundgang, which happens once a year. And it's all these fine art exhibitions within the space. And it's open to the city. Everyone goes in, and it's really cool because it reminds me of Art Center. Art Center is a design college that I had gone to in Pasadena, California, where we have student exhibits as well. And we have grad shows. And so there's something reminiscent, and for me to really kind of go back as a designer who had studied, it was pretty humbling. And so I just want to take you guys on a stroll, follow the music, follow the beat, and let's just get into it. So let's...
Oh yeah, this is great, Ian. Just to remind of the time that we leave some time for Q&A. So everyone, if you have any questions,
Awesome.
please message to the chat room. Yeah.
Cool. Almost there. But yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so again, like thinking about like, okay, cool, I found how to put play into my work life. How do I put work into my play life? And so I was able to create this idea of Chicken Lit, right? Chicken Lit was just like something that came between me and my friends. Now, again, thinking about pass and fail, Chicken Lit doesn't really exist anymore, but it was a place for me to think about how do I have this entrepreneurial mindset, right? And I couldn't have done that if I hadn't started working at Digital Ventures or just been exposed to a lot of like businesses at that time. So let's kind of circle back, yeah? So yes, okay, it says Chicken Lit, I know. We're gonna get to pineapple because our lessons. So when we think about our lessons, right? When was the last time we played like we were 5? Yes, so here to play allows you to experience passing and failing. All right, lesson number 2. Did my fails push me to grow better as a designer than my passes? Yes, pass and fail are connected. I need both in order to grow. Number 3, allowing myself to learn from work failures brings more professional successes. And then last but not least, passion doesn't end, it's a vibe. It can lay dormant or awake. Just know that it never leaves. Mind blown. And that's basically where I started to see that my life is not linear anymore. My life kind of constitutes every single thing that I've learned up to this point. All 4 lessons that I've learned. And so, yes, I know it's a vibe thing. And, taking this to work and like playing with friends, I'll skip the video for now, but basically here, I was trying to incorporate how to look at kind of AI experiences, right? AI companionship. So 2 of my work colleagues who are best friends, I observed their behaviors. I like rode around with them and we just kind of kept a playful environment just so that they could feel as natural as possible. So I could extract that information when I design for AI interfaces. And then yes, passion is a thing. I was able to get one of my work colleagues to play with a Lego set. She's a consultant. She's now head of strategy for the LA Olympics Committee 2028. And she's playing with a Lego set. And so again, this is something that I say will kind of help boost ourselves to kind of progress and to grow to what we want to be. And so yes, I think if you work hard, you could play harder. And just know that, yes, your work me is the same as your play me, just a little bit toned down, right? Because again, we have to stay professional in those work-life settings. So just want to say you got to be a pineapple, stand tall, wear a crown, be sweet on the inside. Because I did have that youthful mindset, so I could fail. I was able to learn from all of my failures, which basically got me here. I was able to work for a company that challenged me to elevate my professionalism and basically using that professionalism to then implore this pineapple brand that you see today. So yes, that is how I became a pineapple. I now have a way to identify myself through different ways of exploring. And I found out that, my brand is about this idea that pineapples are both beautiful and pretty. They're weird, but they're tasty. They almost go well with everything. And that's just basically the vibe that I want to bring. It's an energy that I know that I want to bring to the table. So, yep, I am a pineapple, designer by day, DJ by any other day. I am that kid with the crown who loves that pineapple atmosphere, and that's me. Thank you.
Oh my God. You unmute. I unmute. Such a great talk. I love it. You talk about your past, your failure, but it's also success, and how do you come cohesive with how to play around with your work. And yeah, it's really inspiring. So really well TED Talk. Everyone is so lucky to be here to hear about yourself. That's amazing. All right, now we have some time to take some questions. So if anyone have any question, please feel free to ask in the chat room. I hear someone want to ask. So since you are so amazing, how about your love life?
Haven't mentioned.
Yeah, you haven't mentioned
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
For sure. Nah, I mean, if you think about this ISO living that we're in, it's a little bit harder to kind of progress there. But yeah, still single.
Very good news for every single woman and man. Anyway, so I think we talked. I think when we were at work, I asked you like, how do you stay true to yourself? Because we are in such a, it's a corporate environment, agency, you need to deal with a client. How do you stay genuine and playful? Although you talk about it, is there any
Yeah,
example that you can give
I
us?
think a lot of it just has to be with, I've had a lot of stuff to overcome, right? That was just like a snippet. One of the reasons why I actually went to Australia was because I was going through a very depressive time in my life. And so what I was able to do was try to just change an environment around me. Now, if you can't change that environment, what you should do is think about what are the things that you naturally gravitate towards that you know that really kind of inspires you with that positive energy and that vibe. And that's when, like, I honestly started to think about if you don't explore, you actually won't know if you like something until you try it. And I always tell people it's controlled risk, right? I moved to Australia. Yes, I didn't know anyone, but they speak English. The weather's like LA, right? And eventually I did meet some amazing people. And I know some of them are actually watching here right now. So again, if you want to try to stay yourself, always know that not every environment has to respond to you, okay? You need to respond to yourself. So I create an environment for myself. And so, if I think about myself living in New York, the first thing I went was to buy all of my DJ equipment or like all of my stuff so that, even if I was still sleeping on an air mattress, I still had my passion kind of stuff here with me. Now, when I'm at work, I'm in meetings, sometimes you're just in these very drawn out, very tactical meetings, which has no soul to it. But that's why, like, if you have stand-ups or little breaks like that, that's where I put my flavor, right? Like, again, if you think about pineapples, they never really override everything. They're always an accentuant flavor. So always allow yourself to find maybe 1 minute a day, 5 minutes a day to just have that play state. It'll help to alleviate a lot of stress.
Yeah, I love the tips you gave. And another question I'm interested in, we are all interested in, like, how do you feel about DJ? Like, how do they affect your life and your perspective?
Yeah, I found that DJ, it's a creative outlet. So while a lot of people will paint, will draw, will sculpt, like, do sculpture, run, right, marathons or whatever it is, it's just a creative outlet. So that's where I know that I work hard and I play harder, because as much time that I put into work, I dedicate to myself when I DJ, because that's my release. That's how I want to kind of stay passionate and creative. Now, the beauty about this is I'm not looking at DJ as my source of income, right? So being able to do this actually gives me that controlled risk. I could play around with whatever I need, because I know that I'm not necessarily fully dependent on DJ as a career. But like, I think, would I have ever live streamed? No. Would I have ever opened a Twitch channel? No. So, I'm already thinking about the fact that because we're in this environment, I actually might start my own radio show. Why not? Right. And if it only gets 5 views, that's fine, because those are the 5 people that I want anyways. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about DJing, is that it's a fun creative outlet. And plus, I'm just someone that loves to dance. So why not control the flow?
That's beautiful. And we got some question about when is your next Twitch live?
So actually, this is where like my worlds collide. Working with a couple of people at our office to celebrate Pride, and so might be collaborating with a couple of DJs from our office to do a set called Homebodies. And we did the first iteration, and now we're about to do the second one. It will probably happen in about a week or two. So if you guys do want to follow me on Instagram or Twitch, we can definitely send that out for sure.
Yeah, so in our event page, we have Ian's information, Twitch, Instagram, SoundCloud. So we got a question from Kevin. He asked, what does the end goal of your design career look like?
Ooh, I love that actually, because I don't think of it as a design career. I just think of it as career. Design is out of the picture, because I'm naturally thinking about design as almost like an ethos of a process of like how I've learned to build processes that help me to accomplish various tasks and jobs or career paths that I have. And so if I think about my end goal, here's the problem. I don't even know what the next 30 years of my life was. And this first 30 was definitely hard to get through. So I definitely have started to think about being more thoughtful about my career path. Again, if you think about the culmination of the path that I've gone into, I do know that the next step for me is going to be in the entrepreneurial space, because now that I've worked for so many corporate partners and clients and things like that, I do want to work for myself, right? And so that's kind of the next stage. And luckily at DV, like we have the opportunity to kind of like run these projects, right? Like at Lego. And so it simulates this idea of being entrepreneurial or running a business or running a project. So that would probably be my next step. I definitely know that 2028, if you guys are still with me, there might be something huge coming in. But yeah, giving myself a little bit of a realistic goal there.
Wow, 2028, we can set a calendar reminder. By the way, I saw some of our colleagues, like Cece is here, Joe is here, Sally definitely stay on. So we got a lot of support from our company. Thank you guys for joining.
DV.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, we have a question. Momo. Okay, Momo has a question. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, so we can take the last two. So last two question, Momo. How do you respond to those online haters? Although
Yeah,
I wonder if they are existing. LOL.
I think you'll always find people that you don't gel with. So what I've found is there was this book that I read a long time ago. It's like The Power of Now or something like that, right? There's this mantra that still sticks with me. It's the idea that you either accept it, you change it, or you leave it, right? So if that ever happens, do you feel like you can leave it? Can you escape from it? And if you can't, can you change it? And if not, can you accept it? So what I've done there is, if there are haters, I've actually built up a lot of peace kind of with who I am as Pineapple now, right? I have actually, my logo's tatted on my leg now, so like it's not going to go away. Pineapple is permanent. But it's in that moment where you say, cool, haters are going to hate. I accept it. That's it. Because you know that you can't leave it and you know that you can't change it. Now, the other aspect is, okay, cool. Like if you can change it, then the way I would look at it is you can look for platforms that accommodate for that change, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. By the way, we do have a pineapple here.
Awesome.
And
Wait, so there's one I think I saw. Products. Which products do I feel have the most soul? Love that.
wow, that's a beautiful question.
So there's a couple of things that I've started to look into where a couple of people try to do this or people do it relatively well. And so I've actually looked at a couple of companies. So Penn Gaia or the Penn Gaia, there's this clothing company. And basically all of their clothes have natural dyes, right? It's all kind of like, made from like seaweed. It's this really kind of interesting campaign which thinks about the actual sustainability aspect, right? And it's because of these natural dyes that they have these pops of just rainbow colors, like these awesome lavender, this awesome rose, all these different things, which to me, that's where the soul comes from, is from the actual ingredient itself. So the Penn Gaia Collective is huge. They're constantly selling out. They're great. But I would say they are doing it pretty well.
I never heard about it. I'm gonna look it up. But thank you so much for all the sharing your journey, how you become a pineapple, and you are still so humble and down to earth. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you everyone joining this call. Online, I think there are 32 people like joining this call to hear about your story. So lastly, I just want to thank all the ACC team members, Summer, Susanna, Momo, and please stay updated about our events. We have another event maybe next week or next month. And follow us, follow Pineapple. And how do people connect to you? Last question.
Probably Instagram's the best. I've actually so funny story. I quit Instagram for a whole year, so I'm starting to get back into it. Shandy found out that like I just don't have Facebook anymore. So Instagram's probably the best bet.
Okay, great. I won't sneak to your apartment. I promise.
No.
But welcome to New York, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you again, ACC.
And follow Sally, the mess for unity. Thank you.